It was a receptive crowd of party regulars that greeted the First Lady when her campaign schedule brought her to a fundraising stop in Virginia Beach. About 400 people paid from $25 to $500 toward the president's re-election. What they got in return was a buoyant, if weary, Rosalind Carter, who praised her husband's performance in the White House and noted what many consider to be his strongest quality this time around.
I can tell you also that without hesitation that he is a wiser person today than he was 4 years ago. He's learned a lot about what can be accomplished by our country.
State Democratic leaders left little doubt as to the importance of a Carter victory in Virginia in November.
I hope it's the case, but I cannot believe that all of the other southern states who voted for Carter the last time would do the same this time. I fear that there might be some attrition, so that to make up for that, it will be absolutely necessary that Virginia, in my judgment, support him.
Davis, a former mayor of Portsmouth, responded to the criticism often repeated that President Carter hasn't kept some of the promises he made in 1976 when it comes to the cities.
It took the South Bronx 50 years to get where it is, and in 4 years it hadn't recovered. It has taken the city of Norfolk nearly 200 years to where it is, and it won't recover in 4 years. But the programs are in place to cause this renaissance of the cities.
Mrs. Carter told an enthusiastic crowd tonight just what they wanted to hear, that her man is the right man for the Oval Office in 1980. Party leaders who were listening very closely hope that will make a difference on Election Day, and they hope that this Election Day things will be different than they were last time in 1976, when Virginia was the only state in the South that didn't go for Carter. Howard Jaffe, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Virginia Beach.
This is Mike Deason in Norfolk, where earlier in the day the First Lady came to the Huntersville Recreation Center and made a pitch for voter registration and for black votes for President Carter. A huge proportion of Huntersville was out to greet Mrs. Carter as she began her Norfolk campaign swing. The trip to Huntersville is an attempt to solidify black support for the president and to make a pitch to all Tidewater voters to vote for Jimmy Carter.
And it is a very special place to us because we started our married life here, we had our first child here, and there's no way that Jimmy's going to neglect this area. He will do everything he can to be sure that this area is taken care of.
After a brief news conference, Mrs. Carter, along with Lieutenant Governor Chuck Robb, State Democratic Chairman Richard Davis, and the most prominent members of Tidewater's black community, listened as ailing Delegate William Robinson described the First Lady as half of a vital team.
A man who must be our next president.
Then Mrs. Carter made a pitch for voter registration and for black votes, saying Jimmy Carter has helped areas like Huntersville and would continue to do so if reelected.
For years we've heard about the need to redevelop our cities, but few people ever bothered to ask the people who lived in the cities what needed to be done. And I'm very proud that Jimmy Carter has done that.
Mike Deason, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Norfolk.